excited to have all of you, and I know that you all have a lot to offer, so I'm super excited about that. With us tonight is Kaylee. She is the author of the Mental Edge Workbook. It's how to think, train, and transform into a champion. And hopefully you all had a chance to listen to the podcast and kind of have an idea, what Kaylee's thoughts and philosophies are. And she's going to share with us a PowerPoint tonight and talk all about goal setting and how to get your rodeo season started off right. So I'm going to turn it over to Kaylee. Again, if anybody has any questions throughout the chat, or throughout the video, put them in the chat and we'll go from there. All right, Kaylee, it's all you.
Hey guys, I'm very excited that you guys are all on, and I'm very thankful that I was asked to come on today. I do have a presentation for you guys that I want to show you on how to set goals. We figured since this was January, this was the best time to kind of go through how the goal setting process works so that you can set yourself up for success instead of setting yourself up for failure. And in order to do that, I went ahead and did a 5-step process. And I think you're going to have to make me the host to share my screen.
You know how I do that?
I'm looking real quick.
Does anybody know? You guys are probably more experienced at this stuff than I am.
She has to be the host to have the privileges.
Okay, is there a way that I can make her the host?
Yes.
I don't know how to do it.
Participants list.
What's that?
And then go to your participants list, and then when you open it up on the side, you hit more, I think it is. No, it's a, just kidding, I thought I had it.
Okay.
Maybe I can't do it.
There's a more, make host. Okay. You're now the host.
Okay, now I'm the host, cool. So now I can share my screen with y'all. Okay, so are you guys seeing this PowerPoint? Does everyone see a PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. See, I did this really nice and simpler. At least I tried to. I created it so that you guys could have some really simple stepping stones that can help propel you up the ladder of success through these 5 steps for goal setting. So to begin with, we want to talk about what is the purpose of a goal. And when I think about a goal, I think about 4 words: desire, dream, motivation, and attainability. When I'm looking at putting those in a perspective for how to set a goal, I'm wanting to organize those 4 words so that I can prioritize them in a way that I can be successful. So I start with dream. We all have a dream, and we all think about what we want to do with our lives. When we're riding in the truck going to rodeos, what are you daydreaming about? When you're out riding your horses, what are you daydreaming about? When you lay your head down at night, what are you daydreaming about? That's the number 1 process in setting a goal, is to know your dream. That in turn ignites a desire inside of you to want to go and chase after that. You start thinking about what you need to do to make that dream a reality. And through that process, you're now setting the wheels in motion for motivation to want to get up out of bed every morning and go after that, whether that be instead of getting up at 7, you're getting up at 6:30, whether that be practicing for 45 more minutes longer than you normally do, whatever that motivation is to keep going. And then the last one is being able to set an attainable goal. And that's the true secret to goal setting, is the attainability. So when you're setting a goal, you want to make sure that regardless of the outcome, you know that if you do X, Y, and Z, you will succeed and hit that goal. And that will reinforce that happiness inside you, or it's the, what's the word I'm looking for? That chemical release of like excitement, where you're excited about what you're doing. Pardon?
Adrenaline?
Yeah, your adrenaline, you're like, yes, I got it, what you craved for. Okay, so Then once you have the purpose of your goal, you can go to setting your goal. So your very first goal, I look at it as the sky is the limit. You write it down, keep it in front of you at all times. And you can go as big as you want, whether that be making the NFR, if you're a goat tyer, tying your first 6, roping at the American, running barrels at the American, writing a book, being famous. It doesn't matter what it is, write that down and go ahead and keep it in front of you at all times. Like, I cannot stress that enough. If you write down your goals, it shows that much more of how badly you want it, and then it'll help you achieve it. Once you have the ultimate goal, you need to break it down into a broad spectrum. So your broad spectrum is going to be, if your goal is to make the American, you know that you're going to want to practice daily with intention. So how do I practice daily with intention? I set daily goals. Those daily goals might be you rope the dummy 50 times in a row where the curl comes around. Or you know that in order to make the American and the breakaway, your horse needs to be in the utmost shape and taken really well care of. And so in order to do that, you want to make sure that it's on a good feed program and that you have a rigorous exercise routine that helps it maintain its body and be ready to perform. That's your broad spectrum goal. If that was kind of confusing, I did it in another way here where we start at the top and it's funneling downward. So if you want to win the NFR, you know that in order to get to the NFR, you have to place in the top 15. But in order to place in the top 15, you've got to purchase your card. And the only way to purchase your card is through filling your permit. And you can only fill your permit once you purchase it. And the way you get your confidence to want to purchase your card is by competing at smaller events. And you only get the confidence to compete at those smaller events through daily practice. So once you have those set broad goals, you work backwards. Does that make sense? Did I go too fast? If at any time I'm going too fast, please tell me so I can slow down. I know I talk fast.
I think you're doing good. I think everybody's just muted.
Okay.
And you might make sure that there's nobody in the waiting room too, now that you're the host.
How do you do that?
If you just look on your participants list, it should say at the top if anybody's waiting to get in.
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay, you're good to go then.
So then the next step is within your broad goals, we need to now set miniature goals. So those miniature goals are designed to be daily, weekly, and monthly. So for example, I have on the slide, if you want to say make the NFR, your mini goal that you should shoot for is to win the 1D at 4 barrel races with more than 200 entered. And once you do that I think I said 4 times, then you have the confidence that you're like, you know what, I can go ahead and fill my permit because that's a big enough pool of successful people that'll give me an idea that I'm ready for that next step. Same with the breakaway. Say you want to make the high school finals. That's your goal. You want to look at, okay, this month at the high school rodeos, I want to catch every calf that I rope. Because what the odds in breakaways, a lot of people don't catch multiple times. They'll like hit and then miss and hit and miss. If you can be consistent at catching, you know you're ready to go on to that next goal. I also have written down to these mini goals that you have. You want to be SMART goals. You want them to be specific. You want them to be measurable. You want them to be attainable, relevant, and have a time bound on them. Okay. So those 3, your daily goal, your monthly goal, and your weekly goal, along with your ultimate goal, need to be in front of you at all times. Okay.
I think that we should have them, if you guys have a goal already, let's write them in the chat. If you can type whatever your goal is for this year in the chat, you can keep talking, but you can do that so we can all, I know some of you have already set some pretty big goals. I've seen it on your Pony Pro list and stuff. And so if you can figure out how to do that, that'd be awesome.
Yes. And then we can kind of go ahead and figure out, like, with your goals that you have, if we can set them up in a mini way or if we can describe them if it's a broad one, if it's your ultimate goal, whether it's a mini goal, kind of whatever, and we can kind of go through that process together if you guys want. Okay. Going into the next slide. Okay. Oh, sorry. Now it's going backwards the wrong way. Okay. So then once you have your mini goals set, you need to break them down even more, and specifics help you attain that much more greatness, because when you can write it down like this is what we are doing, then you have a plan and you can execute that plan, which will be the next thing. Okay. So we want to get specific. So with our original goal of I will place in the 1D at 4 barrel races with more than 200 entered, we're going to get more specific by saying, by riding my horse every day for 30 minutes and working on the pattern 4 days a week. I will ride and work on riding my horse to the spot, riding aggressive, and staying off the barrels. So when we go over here to this little chart, the mini goal is to place in the 1D. That's our monthly mini goal, okay? So our weekly daily goal, or our weekly goals, mini goals, are the work the pattern 4 days a week and run the pattern, once a week, okay? So, and then our daily one is to ride 30 minutes. So we have a monthly, a weekly, and a daily goal that we're going to work towards. And then you break up those little 3 mini goals even more. So with your 30 minutes of riding, you're going to have a planned routine of what you want to work your horse on, whether that be walking the whole time, trotting the whole time, loping, a mixture of walk, trot, lope, going back and forth on the fence, turn, rollbacks, whatever you want to do there. Then your work for the drills 4 times a week. During that time, that's your repetition time, not just for you, but for your horse. So you want to work toward riding to the spot, the exact spot that you want to be every time for the barrel, looking where you need to look, your hand placement. And then when you work your running your horse once a week at minimum, you want to work on, that's your time to ride aggressive, make sure you're staying off the barrels and get ready so that you can then go run at the 4D. For those of you that are goat tying or breakaway roping, it happens the same way, okay? Say this 1D, you change to tie a 9-second goat run. So in order to do that, you want to set a daily goal for maybe tying your foot 10 times in a row in under 4 seconds. So have your mom or dad time you. You want to do your weekly goal of stepping off your horse in the time from the time your horse starts, the time you step off, being around 4 or 5 seconds. And then another one of your weekly goals could be something like tying so many perfect on the ground, like so many perfect flanks or gathers in a row. And then you just kind of continuously break that down. Does that make sense to everyone? See some nods.
So if you guys, a lot of you are writing some awesome goals that you have this year. If you can write in the chat one thing that you can do, that you can start doing tomorrow to help you get closer to your goal. What's one mini thing that you can do to get closer to your goal? Go ahead and keep rolling on, Kaylee. We can keep moving. I just want to keep them involved.
Okay. I'm also reading the chat. I was like, heck yeah, you guys have some good goals. I'm like, yeah.
I know. We got some awesome kids that are hardworking and willing to put in the time to be the best that they can be. So I'm kind of nervous because I feel like I'm getting old. I see all these kids coming up and they're putting all this time in and they're going to be kicking my booty here before too long.
Heck yeah. I'm like, hopefully towards the end we can like address some of those chats because I think that would be a lot of fun.
You bet.
Sweet. Okay. So going on to the 5th step. The 5th step is execution. You guys have been listening to me. We've been writing down our goals. You guys have been putting it in the chat. You guys obviously want to be successful and you've put that work towards setting those goals already. But unless you do these steps of continuously breaking them down, being specific, and then executing it, the ladders of success will just start to be steeper and steeper. It'll be harder. The more specific you get, the easier the steps will be. Okay. There's no achievement that is too small. Okay. So when you guys, it could be as little as making the bed. I know that's really silly. But setting a tiny goal like that, like every day, I'm going to make the bed. That's an achievement. Check. I did that. And it just fills your cup full of confidence in yourself. Say that I got to practice every day today. I got to rope the dummy 10 times in a row, and all week I haven't missed of my 10 times in a row. You know, those little achievements will help you have that confidence to move forward. They're huge and they're so important, okay? And also remember that there's no goal that is too big. I didn't say too high, I said too big. Because when you're setting your goals, it's how you place them. You can place one too high at the beginning, which I'll get to in a second. But the ones that are the bigger ones, you want to break them down into smaller goals so that you can achieve them. Because does anybody know how you eat an elephant?
How you feed an elephant?
How you eat an elephant.
Eat an elephant.
One bite at a time.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I think
Didn't know I was a comedian, did you?
I think it's important too to talk about that. You know, you don't have to, it can seem like a lot, and it's easy to get overwhelmed if we try to do an hour of everything every day. I know you kids are busy with homework and school, and some of you are in work, and there's just, maybe you've got brothers and sisters who have a lot going on as well. So there's so many things to do in a day, and sometimes practicing for long amounts of time can be difficult. But if you can find ways to say, I can do this for 10 minutes, and I can do this for 10 minutes, or I can do it for 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes before supper. It doesn't have to be a huge quantity, because quality is better than quantity.
Absolutely. Okay. I agree wholeheartedly % right there. So real quick, this one, beware of goal burnout. It is a thing. I see most of you guys on tonight are kids, but for the parents that are on, or the parents that may be listening later on, I just want to go over real quick how important burnout can be. So you can experience burnout by setting goals too high at the beginning, where it makes you feel like a failure when you're not obtaining them. When the parents are setting the goals, it's very important that the kids set your guys' own goals. It's very important that you guys are chasing after what you want, not what somebody else is wanting for you. When that happens, it's almost like what they want that you're chasing after, you won't be able to obtain. You have to set your own goals and want it for yourself in order to truly be successful. Pushing too hard, that's you're at school for 8 hours a day. I don't really know with coronavirus and stuff anymore, but you're at school 8 hours a day. You had to get up and feed before, and then you're going to go out to practice, and you're going to practice for 7 or 4 or 5 hours, and then you go in and have homework to do. And doing that repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly, you get tired. You guys, I know you guys don't need as much sleep, but one day you're going to miss sleep. And so by constantly doing that and pushing and pushing and pushing, which is a good thing to be a pusher, but you just got to know kind of your limits. And then using the word but during the goal setting process and in the practice pen. I grew up with very loving parents, but they definitely told me but. And every time they told me but, everything good that they talked to me about was completely erased, and I felt like a total failure to them. And so it was one of those, I just say be leery of the word but. The good thing, burnout can be avoided. And I have some simple ways of doing that. You take those bigger goals that you have, those really, really big goals, and break them up, like I've said multiple times already, into those smaller goals so that you can achieve it. You eat an elephant one bite at a time. And then for the parents, have your child set the goal, like sit down and have a conversation with them and ask them what they want to do and how they want to do it. And then ask them, give them that kind of responsibility of like, all right, write down specifically how you want to get there, specifically X, Y, and Z, how you wanted to get there and what we can do for you. And if you don't know, and if you want to talk, we can discuss it together. Make it a team thing, not just a one or the other thing. Another thing for parents is know when it's time to kick it at home and have fun. Going every weekend, since I've been down here in Texas, I can tell you, I know for a fact that there are some kids that are going every single weekend, and they are big events. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. Like, if you guys love doing it, that's absolutely fine. But even the big guys take breaks every now and then and will take a couple weeks off, or just to get back to the basics. You can't be pushing for something all the time and still have that desire for it. Eventually you do lose that. Even basketball players, football players, there's a reason why after the NFL, they take so much time off before they start back in training again. You know, there's a reason why after the top 15 is set for the NFR, those guys, you don't see them going out all the time competing. They're at home, they're resting, they're practicing, just kind of getting back down to the roots. We all love rodeo, but remember that there's more things in life than just rodeo. And when you're at the rodeos, go find something else to do too. Like go swimming, go golfing, go bowling, go to the movies with your friends, you know, have some fun. And then again, just try really hard not to use the word but in your conversations. My last note, guys, before we can kind of go back to your guys' questions and stuff is goals can be very scary. And this is because they hold you accountable. And through that process, the realization that you can fail is now real, and none of us want to fail. I'm a perfectionist, a recovering perfectionist, so I know that the word failure is very scary to me. I would almost do anything I could to stay away from it. But ultimately, we're all going to fail at some point, and setting goals puts it like, bam, right there in front of us. Like, if you don't do this, you're a failure in your brain, which is not true. And as much as we don't want to fail, we actually tend to set ourselves up to fail more often than not in how we set our goals. We usually set goals from 0 to 100. You go from, okay, well, I'm going to enter my first rodeo and I want to be able to go to the American by 6 months. Like, no, or I just started this event. I just say you just started pole bending for the first time, and your expectation or your goal is to make state finals. That's a great goal. But if you've never done that before, you know, you might want to start with, I want to start running consistently on this horse 22, 21 second pole patterns. And then once you do that, then start setting those other goals. But we fail because we don't set up those miniature goals to get us to that big goal. So when we don't make state finals, but we didn't have those other goals in mind, we look at it as a failure, even though we went from running a 24 on this horse to running low 20s in a matter of 6 months. So you have to be
a huge part of it too. Like, I think that that's so important to pat yourself on the back, celebrate the small victories along the way, because if we don't celebrate the small victories, that's when you do get burnout. So just make your each rodeo a goal and find the positives in it, kind of like we talked about in the podcast. At every single rodeo, find the good, find the things that you can improve on, and just celebrate the things that you accomplish every single step. And if there's a girl that used to work for me, and every time that they would accomplish something, there was a family that she lived with, and this old man would just go, woo! Every single time that they accomplished a goal, they had a signal that said, we did good. Like, whether it's a pat on the back, whether it's you clap your hand, whether there's a word, or if it's just a high five, just something that you and your parents or you and your siblings sit down at the table and say, okay, this is how we're going to celebrate the small victory. And you're going to pick one thing. Maybe you get a candy bar. Maybe, I mean, it could be all kinds of different things, and you can make it goofy where maybe you go buy a balloon, or you get something to add to a collection, or, you know, just be creative with it so that it's fun, but that you take every little thing that you've done and it'll compile into one huge thing. So even if you don't attain that championship or you don't win that title, that's the big thing, you'll remember that it's about the journey and all of the things that you've gained along the way.
Exactly. And so just like that, my advice to you now is to have your big goal, but break down those little goals so that you have them, so that you can start seeing that little progress that you're making each step of the way. And then gradually the mini goals will get bigger and harder, but your confidence will go up. The goal setting are meant to build you up and not tear you down. Okay, guys?
If you guys have anything that you already do, type it in the chat too, like so that other people can learn from the things that you do. I mean, we do the woohoo thing, and that's always kind of fun. But there's just, let us know what you guys do or what you think would be fun.
Yes, and before I give you back the host, if you guys have any questions or want to have discussions with me about this goal setting, you guys can find me on Facebook. You can find me at speedygoats@yahoo.com, or you guys can call me too. I usually have my phone on me like the rest of the world. So with that, I will stop sharing and send you back to being the host.
Okay. So I do want to make sure to talk about, so Kaylee has this book. It's called the Mental Edge Workbook, How to Think, Train, and Transform into a Champion. And if you listen to the podcast, you'll know that she has put in the work, like what she said to you guys tonight in the PowerPoint that she created was from her experience. It's not just stuff that she took off of the internet and compiled it because it's what they say to do. It's because she's living proof that it has worked. And this book that she has will take you through all of those steps. Like, there's places that you can actually write in the book your own goals, and it's really awesome. So I do recommend, if you don't have a notebook or something like this, that this is a great tool that all of you can get. It's on the Rodeo Kids website, and it's on the Performance Pony Company website. Or you can have a notebook. Like, you don't necessarily have to have this, but I have a notebook every year for the books that I read. I take notes on those in one section. I go to clinics or lessons. I take notes on that in one section, and then just my daily life in another section. But have that notebook every year that you can take those notes, and then you can go back and look at, oh yeah, I forgot I learned that. Or I remember when I read that book and it was really cool, and I learned so much from that, and it'll make those light bulbs go off, and that stuff will stick, and that's what will help you be successful both in and out of the arena. Yes. Okay. Do you guys have any questions? I'm really loving what you guys are saying in the chat. We will put this recording onto the Pony Pro and the Rodeo Kids page as well. You can share it with your friends. Kaylee, I have the document for the PowerPoint, and I can also share that if you guys want that. I see somebody's asking about that. All right, anybody have any questions? If you do, just unmute your button and go ahead and ask. No questions at all?
I love goals.
Okay, we've got somebody who's got one. Not sure who that was. Go ahead and ask.
When will your next book come out?
When I get the time to write one. It's in the making. I'm working on it.
So, like, question for Kaylee is how did you balance like school and also like practice?
That's a really good question. I would suggest balancing it by when you get home, regardless of how your practice is going, set kind of a scheduled time. Like, you want to practice from say school gets out and you're back at home by 4, you're going to only practice until 6, and pick that day what events you want to work on. And at 6 o'clock, regardless of what you're done, you're going to go back, you're going to do your school homework or whatever. It's being specific in those time zones of what you are allotting yourself.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Do you have any tips about moving out of state and starting to rodeo in a new state?
Good question.
That is a great question. I've now gone from Wyoming to Texas to Oklahoma and back to Texas. And the best advice I can give you is, regardless of where you go, have confidence in yourself, smile, and be kind to everyone around you, because you guys are all going through the same journey. And the more people you can have, smiling at you at a rodeo and cheering you on, the better you feel about yourself.
Thank you. I'm about to move to Colorado by myself, and my mom's like, "You can take your course."
Oh my gosh. That is crazy.
What's your favorite event?
My favorite event is goat tying. That's the event I've had the most success in, but I'm gradually becoming more of a barrel racer, and when I'm roping good, roping's by far my favorite event. What about yours?
What about you?
I like barrels and trail.
Cool.
I have a question. I listened to your podcast, and what do you What do you recommend for how to throw the goat for small people?
So for small people, I recommend going ahead and picking it up to about your knees and just putting it right on the ground. You don't want to start stuffing or anything. Your bodies aren't big enough to do that yet. We want to get it where you can get it down and work on the tie. So as you're picking him up on your legs, really use your butt and kind of pick him up and then push him down really hard.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
If it helps any, my little brother grabs a really, really deep flank to the other side, and that's how he gets it.
Very good
Thank
suggestion.
you.
All right, I think we have time for one more question.
Hey, Kaylee.
Go ahead, Jolie.
So what is some mental tips before the Junior American and the goat tying? Right before I run?
I would start saying 3 key words to yourself, 2 or 3 key words. One of the girls here at the college, when she repeats it to herself, she does absolutely outstanding. And she says, stay square, be aggressive. And that's all she's thinking about right before she goes, about a minute to 2 minutes right before she goes. And as she's actually entering the gate, she's telling herself, stay square, be aggressive. So those 2 things kind of center her and to know what she needs to do.
All right, thank you.
I always used to say, smooth as fast, smooth as fast, smooth as fast.
Absolutely.
That's what kept me from getting ahead of myself and just reminding me to take a deep breath and let it all out and just be smooth. And I think we talked about it in the podcast. Another thing that you said your coach had talked about, Kaylee, was not thinking about it all day, but just giving yourself 10 minutes before you compete to really hunker down and focus on it, but not overwhelm your mind with a million thoughts beforehand.
Yeah, we can't comprehend lots of or long time. Our brain works in spurts. So if you can minimize how long you're thinking about your event, you'll be able to do better.
Lillian, did you have a question?
I was wondering how you would stay calm and centered before your runs.
So I stay calm and centered by changing my mindset of I'm nervous to I'm excited. And I talk about that in my book, about kind of changing that mindset of nervous to excitement. Nervous is a negative mindset. Excited is, oh my gosh, these butterflies are because I've worked for it and I know I'm going to go out and kill it.
I think remembering what you can be grateful for is good too. Just be grateful to have that opportunity that day, and that everything up to this point in your life has brought you to today, and this is right where you're supposed to be in this moment. And that also takes the pressure off you, because then it's just fun and you're just happy to be there. And then you can just go do your best.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another question.
Yes. If anybody else has a question.
How do you get your horse to go straight in goats?
Lots of slow work. You can do lots of slow work. And then as you speed up, you continuously do slow work. And then once you start running, you just want to make sure you're not really throwing your body away. You're staying tight and square to that horse, and you're not pulling him to your weight.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have any tips about how to stop your horse from bucking while you're trying to dismount? It sounds really bad, but he likes to buck as I'm getting off.
If you are a cowgirl, I would suggest freaking just running him by every time and just making a little movement and just keep pushing him. Know that like he can't do that, and